All right, CNT125, we are working on our firewalls and security lab. So I've downloaded the lab direction page and I've downloaded the packet tracer file we're going to use. And I have my lab page here and I've already loaded up my packet tracer file here. So let's take a look at what we're going to do and then we'll dig in. Overall, we're going to work on three distinct areas. We're going to work on the first part of the lab on the hardware firewall. So we're going to work on this part of the network over here, getting it configured and working, filtering traffic, permitting traffic, denying traffic kind of thing. After we do that, I'll scroll down here. We have a bunch of things we're going to do there. The next part of the lab, part 2 if you will, we're going to work with our router. So we're going to get the router configured and we're going to put access lists on the router. So that the way the router is permitting and denying traffic based on different protocols that we want it to filter. So we're going to do some inter-VLAN routing and then we'll put some rules on the router to permit and deny traffic. That'll be the second part of our lab. So we'll repeat some things we've done there before, but we'll also do some new things on that part of the lab as well. And for the third and final part of the lab, scrolling down here a little bit more, we'll do just a little bit with our software firewall. So on our PCs, we'll load up the firewalls in there and put a rule on to show that that can play a role in permitting and denying traffic. So there's real quickly what we're doing overall. Then we'll gather our files and submit them to D2L. All right, so in this first podcast, we're going to get going with the hardware firewall. Again, I've opened up my packet tracer file. You'll notice that I have things cabled up in this one. That way ports are correct for you. We have a basic firewall network over here. We have our router network here. And then this side over here is acting as the ISP. And you'll notice a note that says don't alter anything over there. We're not doing anything on this side. We're just using this for places to ping and telnet and SSH and browse and all that kind of good stuff. So the first part of the lab, we're literally going to connect into our ASA, our Cisco Adaptive Security Appliance, and do some looking around and then some configuring. So I'm going to open up my firewall here. There's what it looks like physically. I'm going to go to the CLI, hit the enter key a couple times, and you notice I'm already into my command prompt. There's going to be a lot of similarities between this and the routers and switches you've used before. However, this uses a OS that is kind of like an older version, so there's going to be some commands that are a little different too, so we'll just pay attention. All right, we're going to issue the question mark command. It shows these are the basic commands we could do at this level. We'll do the enable command, and just like our router we're used to, once we put a password on it, prompts us for one. Right now there's none set, so if I just hit the enter key, it'll allow me to go to the privilege mode. While we're here, let's do another little question mark, and you'll see that I have a few more commands available to me that I didn't have before. And I'll also do a show version on this guy. Show version allows you to see the version of operating system that's running. And if I look up top here, I see that the ASA version 796, and the device manager on this, that if I were using that, would be 7.6. So that allows you to see the version of operating system it's running. We'll also do a show run on this, and you'll see that it looks somewhat like what we're used to, but at the same time, it's different than what we're used to too. So there's some similarities, and again, there's some differences. All right, let's get logged in here. Let's do our configure terminal or config T. Let's put a host name on this guy. And I think for this one, I'm just going to use like Brown ASA kind of thing, or you use your name and ASA, something like that. That way it identifies you. We're going to set a couple passwords and things on here. So again, we're going to slow down and be cautious. The first thing we're going to do is set our telnet password to password. And the command for this is PASSWD. Those of you working in Linux and other systems, that sounds familiar. The rest of you, that might be odd. We're going to set the password to password. That is our telnet password, if you will. We're going to set the password. We are also going to set the enable password to class. Enable password class. Double check your spellings. Make sure it's good. We're also going to set a username and password like we would use for SSH. Okay. So for this one, I'm just going to use test and password. I'll set the username to test, and I'll set the password for this account to password. So the username will be test and the password will be password. Okay, that's going to allow us when we SSH in. We're going to set the authentication on this one. Oh my goodness, authentication, there we go. We'll set the authentication for SSH to be a local password. Okay. We will also set our crypto key. Crypto key generate RSA 1024. So it's saying, hey, do you want to replace the key? Yes, we will. We'll replace that. That way there's a new key there for connecting in and setting up the encryption. All right, so now we could do an exit. We could do a show run and see there's our enable password up there. There's our host name. There's the password encrypted. Okay, so we have a couple things set on here. Here's our username and password. There's the SSH. Okay, so we have a couple basic things set up on here. Now let's move into the interfaces. We're going to set the outside interface and the inside interface. So config T again. And we'll do interface. And this guy is gigabit Ethernet 1/1 is the outside. If you take a look here, gigabit 1.1 is the outside. Gigabit 1.2 is going to be the inside. So gigabit 1.1. There we go. Gigabit 1.1, no IP address. We're going to clear anything that's on there off. IP address DHCP, so it's going to pick it up from the ISP. The interface on this guy, we're going to call it outside. We're going to call the name on this as outside. And we'll set the security level. Now, it noted that I already set to 0, but we'll do the actual command security level 0. As you look here, this sets the security level on inside-outside interfaces, and it does automatic filtering from, as you see here, traffic is denied from the lower to the higher security level. So this is going to be the outside lower. We'll set the inside higher. Okay, so we'll turn right around and do the outside interface. Or excuse me, the inside. We just did the outside. We'll do the inside. So interface, gigabit Ethernet 1/2. No IP address. We'll turn right around IP address, and we're going to set one, 192.168.1.1. And default class C subnet mask. Let me make this a little wider here. There we go. Name if. This will be inside this time around. You notice it's setting the inside by 100, security level 100, but we'll do the command anyway, security level 100, and we'll do exit on this guy. All right. So now we have the outside and inside interfaces set and the security level set. Let's set up DHCP for inside, so the users on the inside get an IP address. So DHCP address 192.168.1.20 to 192.168.1.30 inside. And it says, okay, for people in the inside network, we will hand out 192.168.1.20 to 192.168.1.30. We will hand out that range of addresses for people in the inside network. We want to do DNS here, DHCP. DNS, we'll hand out the DNS that workstation should use as 10.10.10.2. That is actually over here, my DNS server over here. So we're just pointing to that locale, that server, if you will. So there's our DNS. We want DHCP option 3 IP. This is your default gateway, 192.168.1.1. We're saying, hey, set the default gateway to 192.168.1.1. And then we'll actually do DHCP enable inside. We will turn this on for the inside. So it actually starts handing out IP addresses. Since we're not doing any kind of routing protocol, we're going to do a static route to point it to the ISP router. That's what this is going to do. So we're going to say, okay, route anything going outside. There we go, outside. Any network, any subnet, if you will. Okay, there would be a network that we would use and a subnet number we would use, or subnet mask we would use. Anything, please route it to 172.16.0.1. And that is literally the router, ISP router. That's this over here. So route it to here. and that'll take care of, pointing it to where it needs to go. That's all we're doing there. All right, we will do NAT now so that this will perform NAT for the devices inside to go outside. So object NAT, object network NAT, we'll get it yet. And we want to do subnet on this, 192.168.1.0, subnet mask. NAT, we're going to say do inside to outside. So NAT, the address is on the inside to outside. We'll do dynamic interface. So we're going to use dynamic NAT is what it amounts to. And there's your exit. We're going to save this by using an old command called write mem. Write this to memory. So if I were to do a show run now, I would see the configuration I have running. Here's my outside interface, my inside interface. There's the IP. Down here is my NAT. Here's my static route. Here's my actual NAT direction, if you will. Okay, down here's my DHCP. So I should have all the pieces in now. We'll do a reload. We'll say sure, we'll save this. Let this thing reload. That tends to get everything situated so it starts running DHCP, NAT, all those things correctly for us. So we'll let that reload. We'll log back in and we'll look at a couple things before we go any further. And you'll see over here that links are down and will come back on. So we'll give that a minute. While it's doing that, we'll log back in, enable, and we will need password of class to do this now because that's what we set. CLASS class. We can do a show run, which we did before we rebooted, but we would be noting things like our interfaces here, outside, inside, noting our NAT object here, our static route, the SSH config, and our DHCP. That's the kind of things we'd be noting with this. Okay, so let's do a show route, and I should see my static route. There it is down there. There's my static route for any traffic inside going outside. We should be able to see NAT, show NAT, and this will show the actual inside to outside dynamic NAT interface. Okay, so there's my NAT rule. And I should be able to even see show interface outside. And this should show me the address that this is using or has. So let's take a look in here. There we are. This is the address that our outside interface has on this ASA. So I could learn the IP address that this thing is using. I could also see in here show interface inside too, showing the inside interface, but that's the one we set, so we should know that one. Okay, and before we go any further, let's ping the ISP and let's ping the web server that's over there, and we'll do that right from the ASA. So we'll ping 172.16.0.1. That should be our ISP router, and we do get successfuls. The exclamation points are successful, and I'll ping the web server that's over there, 10.10.10.3, I believe is the address. Yeah, 10.10.10.3. And I should, the first one or two might time out, but then I should get success after that. I can always repeat it to make sure I get 5 success, and I do. So our ASA is configured with the basics and up and running. We should also be able to get some pings from the workstations too. So let's do a quick dynamic IP config here. Desktop IP dynamic. It should pick up the IP from the ASA, which it does. And I should be able to do a ping test or two here. I want to ping the gateway, and I should be able to get the gateway at least. So we'll ping that 192.168.1.1. I should be able to get that. So at least my ASA is working and my workstation is working. When we come back, we'll start working with some additional tests and then some rules that we're going to add to the router, or excuse me, the ASA.